Mike Kuchwara was the drama critic for the Associated Press for 25 years. He was with the AP 40 years. He died at a too early age of 63 this year. He was a great friend of ours and a frequent guest here on Theater Talk.
For many years.
Always giving us his opinions about all the shows and the Broadway musicals that he loves so much. So we would like to remember our friend Mike tonight with some clips of his appearances on Theater Talk.
It is a holiday tradition here at Theater Talk for us to assemble some of our favorite critics. This year has been particularly...
What a gallery!
But this year has been particularly ghastly for more reasons than the shows we have seen.
I don't know why these gentlemen are laughing, because their jobs are disappearing as we speak. We're going to talk about the problems facing drama criticism in the country, the problems facing newspapers, with Mike Kuchwara from the Associated Press. Mike, welcome back to Theater Talk.
Thank you.
Jacques Lesourd, formerly of Gannet newspapers, now of CBS Radio, with that face always, I thought, for radio, Jacques.
Well, aren't you, darling?
And our friend John Heilpern from the New York Observer. Gentlemen, welcome to Theater Talk. All right, Jacques, you spent 35 years as the drama critic for Gannet newspapers, and you were laid off just this past year, along with, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 other reporters from Gannet. The Star-Ledger has gotten rid of its drama critic. The Sun newspaper in New York has closed down. We know that many other drama critics across the country, indeed, are worried about their jobs. Is your profession doomed?
Doomed, I would say. It's not getting a buyout from the federal government. That's clearly not one of the most missed professions. But I think, yes, I think it's sort of, certainly the drama critics circle is shrinking fast. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think it's sort of a luxury. I mean, Gannet were very complimentary when I left. They said they love me and I'm terrific and they can't replace me and they'd never replace me and I'm irreplaceable, but they can't afford me. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. So I think it's sort of like the arts in the schools, and you know, it's one of those things that you can chop when you're looking for places to chop, and that's one of them.
Yeah. Are critics necessary, John? I mean, you would think if I were a producer and I'd see you critics are falling by the wayside, say, I've hated critics my whole career. You beat up on my shows. I can go now on the internet. There are chat rooms full of dime store critics all the time, yakking away on stuff. I can bypass critics by going to direct mail to my audiences to get people in. Are you no longer the gatekeepers?
We are the gatekeepers, really. First of all, what happened to you is a disgrace. It's disgraceful that they don't support the theatre when you live in New York, which is $1 billion industry. New York is the theatre. Yeah. So not to want a critic of distinction to comment on what people should see and why. People forget that critics support playwrights. They support shows as well as critique them. Mm-hmm. So yes, they're very, very necessary. Of course they are.
You know, I think also critics, there's a shrinking of critics who are generalist news people. That's disappearing now. Everybody's on a little...
Theater geek.
Yeah, and I think the critics tend to be that, with the possible exception of Mike Kuchwara, whose empire grows.
Well, I was going to say, now sitting to your right is a drama critic who everyone, Mike, on Broadway tells me your power is increasing day by day because working for the Associated Press, when these papers lay off their drama critics, they're going to be using Mike Kuchwara reviews. Your empire is going to stretch across the land.
Well, the mainstream critic has totally disappeared. I mean, the days of Time Magazine, Newsweek, all having critics, where a playwright could appear on Broadway and the next week you'd be on the cover of Time. Last year, if Time Magazine was smart, they would have put Tracy Letts on the cover of Time.
They're in enough trouble circulation as it is, Mike.
That's true, that's true. But those days are gone, and now we have a niche audience. You go to the chat rooms, you go to the blogs, and this is a very specialized crowd that gets into minutia about the theater that most people don't care about.
The thing I always thought, though, John, about critics, even if you weren't seeing the show, you enjoyed the writing. I mean, it seems to me the most important criterion for the job of a critic is to be an engaging and enjoyable writer. Do you think value is not placed on writing in newspapers anymore?
Well, my newspaper places incredible value on my writing, naturally, and lots of people who read me do. So you can only hope that you appeal to a section of the reading public who want to be entertained by you and want to be informed by you and want to be fired up by you. The critic is the man who shouts the news to the streets. See the show. By and large, he has a bias in favor. Not a bias against.
Reading habits have changed.
Yes.
No,
Reading habits have changed. People read news now on their BlackBerry, on their
And is
Trio.
it not true at the EP that
Shorter.
how long are your reviews now?
We're writing about 500 words.
And when you began writing, you could write how many words?
750.
750, 800 if you wanted. But,
Right.
you know, people, there's so much competition for attention. The whole news business has changed. Remember when newspapers used to have various editions?
Yes.
They used to wait up for the final of the Times or the Post or the Mirror to get the review.
I
Now
think
You
so.
have to
go
think
right
when you
online.
read your reviews, John Heilpern. You really have
You
to
have to
think.
think?
Yes.
I wouldn't go that
And
far.
I mean, people on their Blackberries, are they thinking or they're multitasking and just getting little tips?
Well, I don't, frankly, see everyone reading theatre reviews on their Blackberries. I don't see everybody walking around going, my goodness me.
I better rush to
No,
the
but
box
they're
office and
reading-
buy
You
tickets.
know, I don't see that happening.
But that's what the advertisers want to sell.
Yes,
Millions and millions of people go to the theatre. The idea that theatre is dying is ridiculous. It's one of the most successful industries in America, Broadway. It's $1 billion industry, right? You can't go off Broadway and walk in. I find that the off-Broadway, you never go, Jacques, to off-Broadway. but for those of us who do go to off-Broadway, they're full.
Mike, here's the problem that I see for the theater as critics become less important and as indeed they disappear. It's one thing, if you have a big advertising budget, you can advertise at Jersey Boys. But without a lively critical fraternity, if you will, is it possible to draw attention to a playwright who will become, let us say, the next David Mamet, the next Edward Albee? Isn't one of your functions as a critic to find that out-of-the-way play and tell the world this is the arrival of something new and exciting?
That's true. I mean, we can all champion, the great undiscovered playwright, but producers have to be savvy in terms of, putting these plays on.
John, if you make the case that the theater is important, it's important to culture, and therefore critics are important to the theater, what do editors say to you guys? They don't want long reviews anymore. They don't want you to review that obscure thing. They only want you to review Shrek. What is their thinking? Where is that coming from?
Celebrity. That's the new buzzword.
Jeremy Piven in Speed the Plow.
Speed
is
the
a
Plow.
huge-
And, when you get a Katie Holmes, you get a Daniel Radcliffe. I mean, this is what people want to read.
Do you see us getting to the point where newspapers, media outlets are going to say, you know what, we don't really need the review to cover Daniel Radcliffe opening Equus. We'll send the reporter to get quotes from him on the red carpet,
Sure.
and that'll
Yes.
be our
They
coverage
will.
of the opening
Yeah.
night.
Yes. Yeah.
That you
that's the
think is happening?
concern.
Yes.
Well,
it is.
You'll be the
yes and no. Why would they do that? The fact of the matter is there's still enlightened newspaper owners, there are still enlightened editors, and they take a major entertainment industry and a cultural industry at that extremely seriously. Why would they let down their readers? Newspapers still have, or used to, Jacques,
Have readers?
Well,
a bond with their readers.
You have a very
bond.
altruistic view, John.
my editor sees the need for theater reviews, but it's just a matter of a menu, and it's a luxury beat. It's some, or as they call it, a legacy beat.
I don't
think they call it the legacy beat.
I don't think it's
Also-
a luxury beat at all. I think going to the theatres is an expensive thing for people to do.
Yes.
Very expensive. Even if we were lucky enough that they did the right thing and brought the prices down,
So
it would still be expensive. It's not a movie. So they need critics. They need real guidance on what a show is about, what they might want to see, what they should see. They need it, and they want it, because they're doling out $200 for two.
Well, and in my case,
Not a luxury.
I would guess they would think, well,
Yes.
there is still a luxury layer of audience that cares about the theater. They'll read the New York Times, and they don't care. So they're not that big a loss to my sort of newspaper. They'll just read a different
Or,
newspaper.
in the case may be, the Associated Press.
Well, we forget. I mean, there's a whole economic meltdown happening. It's not just the theater. Everything
well,
else is collapsing around
true.
it too.
Really? I didn't know. We never looked beyond Broadway.
So it's
is?
everything. Newspapers are folding
exactly,
like
right.
crazy. Yesterday, the Rocky Mountain News in Denver was put up for sale. People are being slashed on papers all across the country.
And no bailout.
And it's not just theater; it's the sports department.
Yeah, yes.
It's
Across-the-board cuts.
Across the boards. The business department. So it's not just theater. Movie critics are going too.
Yeah.
So it's more of a worldwide phenomenon.
Thank you so much for coming on Theater Talk. Mike Kuchwara from the Associated Press, whose reviews will be seen in every newspaper across.
The thing grows. It's Kuchwara.
There's one drama critic, Mike Kuchwara of the AP.